Coming up on today's show, I'm going to talk about some possible surprise changes that might be happening with the Packers depth chart after we're about, 5 months into the offseason. There's been the draft, there's been free agency. Now we've got OTAs started up, and we're seeing some things in practice that lead me to believe things might look a little bit different in 2025 than they did in 2024. Make sure you guys stick around, because we're going to talk about the defensive line in the back half of the show, and I think that's going to be the biggest change. A pretty big one, and one I think is going to improve what was already a pretty good group last season. Speaking of improve, that's what we're always trying to do right here on the Packers Report. And May was our best month yet. But that begs me to ask the question, can we beat that in June? 2,330, that's how many subs we added last month. We're in a new month, and I want to do even more. 2,500 subs, that's the goal for June. If you guys are a new viewer, welcome to the show. We do this daily. We only talk Packers. You found the best place to be. It's free, it's informative, it's entertaining, and it's right here every single day. So lock us in by hitting that sub button. Alrighty, let's start with the coaching staff. Before we get into the players themselves, there's been a lot of moving around with the coaches over the offseason. There's been some departures, some promotions, some new hires, but let's start with the guys who are on their way. So Jason Rebrovich, obviously the defensive line coach, was fired because he needed to be fired. Tom Clements, the longtime quarterback coach, retired in January, and then Anthony, the linebacker coach, went to Jacksonville, got that promotion with their new regime over there, and is their new defensive coordinator. Some promotions ensued. Because of that, Sean Duggan is now the new linebacker coach. Sean Mannion is the new quarterback coach. Longtime backup quarterback, was actually a backup quarterback with Los Angeles, so Matt LaFleur was over there. And then Connor Lewis is now the pass game specialist. Let's talk about the 4 positional coaches that you added, or 4 assistant coaches and positional coaches. DeMarcus Covington came over from New England. He's your new defensive line coach. Luke Getsy came over after being let go as the offense coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's your senior assistant. Jeremiah Colonna is the offensive assistant, and Jeff Coons is your defensive assistant. My bad on the typo right there. Let's talk a little bit about DeMarcus Covington, because I think he's going to bring a lot of juice to this defensive line group, and I think they're already responding really, really well to him. Or Sean Gary talked about him, said he's intense on the details. The focus right now is detail-oriented, really getting coached up on different techniques and things that make us play fast. Says that Covington is bringing confidence and swagger out of his players. I'm always one for hiring a guy who's really young and has a good amount of upside, because I think he just relates more with players in this day and age in the National Football League. And I think DeMarcus Covington is already doing that. The heads did not change that much. You still got the same head coach, Matt LaFleur. Jeff Hafley is still your defensive coordinator. Adam Stenavich is still your OC. And, of course, Rich Bisaccia, it will be your special teams coach. A lot of changing underneath those guys, and I'm excited to see how it pans out in 2025. I need you to be honest with me, okay? What's your confidence level in this coaching staff? Scale it 1 to 10. 10 meaning most confident, 1 meaning least confident. You let me know your answer in the comment section down below. My gut, I honestly feel good about this group, okay? I think they've got a lot of really good things that, of course, they can bring to the table. I was happy with how they did that last year. Excited to see the improvements in 2025. All right, let's start with the quarterback position. No changes here. Starting at QB is going to be Jordan Love. Now, I think the question that we have and the changes that we've had from one year to the next is the addition of Edgerrin, the quarterback from Canada. He was the number 18 overall draft pick in the CFL. He came in for a tryout. You officially signed him to be a UDFA, and so far, he's looked pretty good in OTAs. Will he be able to fight for that QB3 spot? Maybe. Maybe not. Coop, do you mind? Yeah, you got it. And if he does, I think that's going to be really exciting for this quarterback room, having a guy who's got a really high ceiling, a ton of arm talent, but just kind of needs to grow up a little bit more. You get what I'm saying. Up next, let's talk about the running back rotation, because I think this is going to look extremely different. Because now you have a guy in Marshawn Lloyd who is fully healthy, knock on wood, and hopefully will stay fully healthy through the entirety of the season. And I think if he is healthy, he's the running back 2 on this roster. Emmanuel Wilson gave you a lot of really good reps last season and a lot of really good plays, a lot of really good moments. But I think if Marshawn Lloyd is fully there, if he's fully back, and he practiced at OTAs and was at OTAs, in full pads, not on a non-contact jersey, and I liked what I saw. People liked what they saw. People are excited about it. They were excited about it last year, and then he had all those injuries, the training camp injury, the preseason injury, the appendicitis. It was all kind of a shit show for Marshawn Lloyd last season, and now he's back, and I think he looks really, really good. And again, like I've said before, I'm in the business of getting as many good players as you can. So give me as many good backs as you can to back up this guy right here. The more we feel confident in Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson being on the field, the more rest that Josh Jacobs could have, which means he's going to be more durable at the end of the season, which is the most important. Let's go to the tight end room. Tucker Kraft is your 1. Luke Musgrave is your 2. And the Tucker Kraft situation, I think, is one that we all need to keep our eye on over the course of the offseason, because Andy Herman tweeted this out on Tuesday that Tucker Kraft was not practicing. He went to the Hudson Center about 15 to 20 minutes ago, didn't return, wasn't sure if it was injury-related or not. At the filming of this video, we don't have really anything new on Tucker Kraft and his status, so I hope he's okay. I still expect him to be the go-to tight end for Jordan Love. I'm praying that it's just something that, is not that serious. And if it is, I have faith in Luke Musgrave to at least give you a couple of good weeks, hopefully until Tucker Kraft is back. All right, now let's talk about the most intriguing position group. Of course, that is the wide receiver room, a room that is not short of talent. It's not short of players. They've got a lot of really, really good guys in this room. But do they have any great ones? I think that is going to be the question. And feeding off that question, I think the biggest change is there will be an emergence of a wide receiver 1 in 2025. There wasn't last year. There wasn't the year before that. And I think this is the year that changes. And I know that Matt LaFleur doesn't like that word. He said a couple of weeks ago, the word wide receiver 1 makes him want to vomit. But I kind of believe the only reason he doesn't like that word is because Green Bay doesn't have one, right? If Green Bay had a guy like a Jamar Chase, like a CD Lamb, like an A.J. Brown, those guys who are obvious the wide receiver 1s on this roster, I don't think Matt LaFleur would have a problem with that word in itself. Just the fact that Green Bay doesn't have one of those guys. I do expect Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed to separate themselves from the others, okay? I believe that Jaden Reed is going to be a long-time stay on this offense. I think he should be. Everything he's shown the past couple of seasons has been wonderful, and everything that Matthew Golden has shown in OTAs has been really, really impressive. And an interesting thing to pair into this wide receiver group is you got 2 guys who are on contract years, in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. I'd be shocked if both of those guys are still on this roster in 2026. So what changes will that make in 2025? We'll have to wait and find out. Let's go to the offensive line. This is my projection for week 1. And the thing about this is it could be totally different. And it's been totally different for the entirety of OTAs. Jordan Morgan has got reps at both left tackle and right guard with the ones. Sean Ryan has gotten reps at both right guard and the center position. You've yet to see Elston Jenkins. There's going to be a lot of differences from last year's group to this one. There's going to be a lot of differences in this year's practice group to what's going to actually be there come September. A lot of changes, a lot of things to look for. My guess is actually Morgan left tackle. I don't know if Monk's going to be playing or not because Elston Jenkins, we don't know what his situation is going to be with his contract. It's going to be different, though. Just count on that. Up next, we got the massive changes to the D-line that we're going to discuss. Some guys moving inside, some guys on the outside expected to step up in 2025. But before that, if you are enjoying this video, lock us in right now. Hit that thumbs up button. Tell us you like it. And if you really do, you'll join us daily by subscribing. Big red sub button, big thumbs up button. Both easy to see, both easy to hit, both free to do. So do it right now. All right, when you look at the defensive line depth chart, this is kind of what you got last season. You had on the outside Rashawn Gary. You had Lucas Van Ness on the outside as well. And then Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark were your two interior defensive linemen. Now, with all that being said, I think that Van Ness is going to move to the inside for multiple reasons. He's gotten some reps there before, like the past couple weeks of OTAs. Matt LaFleur talked about it, and he also just looks bigger. Like he looks like he's been preparing his body to take on more contact, to take on more offensive linemen, to take on bigger offensive linemen on the inside. And Matt LaFleur spoke on it and said there's a lot of thought about Lucas Van Ness taking some snaps inside at defensive tackle rather than exclusively at edge. Van Ness dipped inside during second team 2-minute drill today, lined up on the edge with the starters. He has the size for that versatility. I think, honestly, him going inside is the best not only for him, but also for this team. And I say that because I think he's got the talent to do so, and I think he'll be able to kind of take a step back in the right direction when from 23 to 24, he kind of took a step backwards. Like he took a step in the wrong direction. Sure, the pressures went up, the pressure rate went up, but he had less tackles for loss, he had less sacks, and he only had one more tackle, and he just seemed like he was a ton less impactful. A guy who also was a little bit less impactful in 2024 was Kenny Clark. He said to the media that he underwent foot surgery in January for a bunion bone spurs. Spent a good chunk of last season on the injury report because of a toe injury. Said it initially happened in the season opener in Brazil. So, Kenny Clark got hurt in the first game of the season, played through the injury for the entirety of 2024. Yeah, he took a little bit of a step back, but I think it's easy to see and note that it was probably because of that injury, and now they got the surgery on it. Now that he's fully healed, I expect him to be back and better than ever in 2025, as I do with this entire unit, okay? I expect this to be a really good year for that defensive line because you added Colin Oliver. He's going to play more of an edge rusher type role. You added Barron Sorrell from Texas, who I think is a perfect fit in this defense. Like, you added really good guys on the outside. You're going to move Lucas Van Ness on the inside, hopefully, and Kenny Clark's going to be fully healthy. It's going to be a good year. Who has more sacks? Okay? Two guys we mentioned earlier, Kenny Clark, Lucas Van Ness. You choose who gets to the quarterback more in 2025 by commenting KC if you think it's Kenny Clark. And if you think it's Lucas Van Ness, go ahead down below. Give me those LVNs. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting battle throughout the entirety of it, but you let me know your answer. The linebackers. I think it's going to be one massive rotation, okay? And I think it's going to be different than last year because you added some more talent, noticeably in Isaiah Simmons, right? Here's the linebackers you got right now. Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie, Isaiah Simmons, and Tyrone Hopper, right? I think all five of those guys are going to play every single game. Maybe not Tyrone Hopper, but I expect the top four to play every single game. And I feel like Simmons might have a little bit of a bigger role than anticipated. Rod Demosky tweeted this out on Tuesday, saying in the first team reps, Isaiah Simmons was the third linebacker in base, along with McDuffie and with Cooper. Simmons came off the field when Javon Bullard went as nickel, and then talks about the offensive line. So, obviously, with Quay Walker not there, Isaiah Simmons is going to get more reps than he would if he were. But still, I think that the fact that he's getting some reps with the ones only about a month after you sign him, that shows me that they've got bigger plans for him than I originally anticipated. And also, we're just going to talk about Cooper for the next 10 seconds. The major change for him, he's going to be a baller. He was great last year at the end of the season. Expect that for the entirety of 2025. I think of all the guys on this roster, he's going to take the biggest jump up from last year to this one. And I think it needs to happen. All right, let's talk about the defensive back room. Then we're going to get on out of here. It's a room that I'm fairly confident in, okay? Because if you talk corners and you talk safeties, I think they both got some really, really good players. Now, the cornerback room, as it currently is constructed, I think there's a lot to like about it. Now, of course, at the current recording of this video, we don't know whether or not Jaire Alexander will officially be on this team, but he is at the moment, so we're going to act like he is. I love him and Keyshawn on the outside. I love Nate kind of fluctuating from inside to outside, that nickel back spot. You can put him in the box. You can put him anywhere you want. I think he's going to be really, really big on this defense. And then, of course, the safeties. Like, how much are we going to talk about them? There's not much to say other than they're the best group in this entire team. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, they were phenomenal in 2024, and I expect them to be just as good in 2025. And Nate Hobbs, like I said, he's already being used everywhere. You brought him in free agency, and I think people were excited about it, but I think once they actually see him on the field, they're going to be even more excited about that addition. However, with all that being said, I think that health is going to be massive for this group. If Jaire Alexander gets hurt, if any of those safeties get hurt, then this takes I don't want to say big step back, but like it's noticeably different, especially in the cornerback room, especially with Jaire Alexander, because then you're relying on guys like Valentine, maybe King, who we've seen some, but I don't think any of us really want them to be the first-time starters. At least I don't. Which is it? Let me know. Which position group are you most confident in? I still think mine's the safeties, although defensive line is climbing up my rankings after possibly moving Lucas Van Ness to the inside. But you let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We're going to get on out of here. A little bit longer video today. Glad you guys are still sticking with us. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Joey Peterson on both platforms. And as always, make sure you guys subscribe. We'll see you next time.